Coronavirus reaches Nigeria as stocks across the globe get battered. Chief of OPEC, Barkindo, says the organization is ready to defend the cost of oil as price of Brent crude slips lower than the Nigerian budget benchmark. National Economic Council to audit finances of electricity distribution companies in Nigeria. The program is Business Express, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. I am Muplang Dakok. Nigeria has recorded its first case of the coronavirus, which has crashed markets from stocks to commodities around the globe, hampering activities in manufacturing and trade. It is the second confirmed case in Africa, following one recently recorded in Algeria in North Africa. Like the case confirmed in Algeria, the victim, an Italian traveler, arrived Nigeria on Tuesday from Milan on a business trip. Authorities have been briefing and updating the public on the status of the virus in Nigeria and how to ward it off.
All Nigerians that we have been beefing up our preparedness and capabilities since the first confirmation of cases in China, and we will use all measures and resources made available by the government to respond to this case. We have started working to identify all the contacts of the patient since he entered Nigeria, and even those who were with him on the aircraft. We have been in touch with the aircraft authority, the aircraft owners, to find out who his seatmates were. Please be reminded that most people who become infected may experience only mild illness and recover easily, but it can be more severe in other people, particularly those who are elderly and those who have other underlying chronic diseases. All Nigerians should therefore take care of their own health and maintain hand and respiratory hygiene to protect themselves, protect their families and others.
Meanwhile, oil prices plunged to their lowest in more than a year, putting them on track for the biggest weekly decline in more than 4 years, as the spread of the coronavirus creates fears of slowing global demand. Oil markets are hoping for steeper supply cuts by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its allies, including Russia, who have said they will take a responsible approach in the wake of the virus outbreak. On the other hand, investors are increasingly worried the epidemic could turn into a pandemic as the virus has spread beyond its epicenter in China to 47 countries. The producer group OPEC Plus, which is currently reducing output by roughly 1.2 million barrels per day to supply prices, is due to meet in Vienna on March 5 and 6. In a related development, OPEC and its allies are displaying a renewed commitment to reach an accord which will stabilize oil markets hit hard by the coronavirus. All eyes will be on the group's meeting next week after crude prices slumped to a one-year low below $46 a barrel in New York, raising concerns for Nigeria's budget benchmark of $57 per barrel. The disease has slashed fuel demand in China and threatens global economic growth. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Barkindo says there is a renewed commitment in the OPEC Plus alliance to build a consensus for a joint action in mitigating the current hypervolatility in the market. Barkindo said the OPEC Plus partnership has proved effective in balancing world crude markets since it was founded in late 2016 and will do so again. In the midst of global concerns in the commodity market, cocoa prices gained driven by shortage supply as gold gains on the week despite initial falls. Let's see how prices are faring. We are shifting gears now away from the effects of the coronavirus outbreak on trade, but not totally away from trade matters, as Africa prepares to go into the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement in July. San Mbakalu is the Executive Director of African International Trade and Commerce Research. He joins us now to examine Nigeria's readiness for trade without barriers in Africa. You're welcome to Business Express today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So July 1st is the date set for the AFCFTA to take off officially. Where does Nigeria stand in this, and then what is the way forward?
Okay, Nigeria has, as we're all aware, Nigeria has signed up to the agreement. We are yet to ratify, which is a big issue for us, really, because as we speak now, we have about 29 countries that have ratified, which of course makes them a member state. That means they can participate in trading come 1st of July 2020. Nigeria might not, because we have not ratified, and we have not ratified as a country. That means we are not yet a member state. A member state gives us the status to use the platform come 1st of July 2020. That is a big issue, because the business community are waiting. Africa is waiting. The world is waiting. Look at Nigeria. Where do we go from here? We don't even know. We Nigerians, we the experts within the country. So that is a big issue, and we hope and we are appealing to the presidency to do something about this, because July is just some few months away. And we have not really we have not defined our national focus. Where do we go from here? Which business are we focusing on? NOT, or Nigerian Office for Trade Negotiation, are doing fantastically well at the moment, trying to rally around and bring in the business community to key into it. But we can't key into it if we've not ratified. You can't key into it if we've not domesticated, which of course ratification comes before domestication.
Okay. Talking about other countries that have ratified, do they have any advantage over Nigeria that has not ratified?
It's like a man trying to farm and decide to clear the ground. So he's preparing to plant. This is planting season. If you clear the ground, then people know that you are ready to farm. We have signed, we've not cleared the ground. So people don't know where we go from. So those nations that have ratified, they start creating clusters, hubs, businesses that will come together to be able to engage, and also consider looking at their own comparative advantage. Where do they start trading? So we don't even know, we the private business don't even know where to go from. Where do we go from here? So if the country has not taken a position, then those that are taking position, just like in Ghana, Rwanda, they are doing a lot of things. There are a lot of business summit events going on. There are a lot of investment opportunity discussion summit going on. We have not started it. We have not even started discussing it on state level. This is still on federal level. So most businesses don't even know what is there for me? How do I go about? What is the provision the federal government or the state government is making to harness the opportunity? Because this is a game changer for the world and a game changer for Africa, where Africa will trade more with each other, where investment will go around the continent and be able to encourage growth and development and employment and job creation. We don't know where we are, the country.
So what steps do we need to take as a country to be able to meet up with those countries that have already begun preparations for the AFCFTA?
We have already, the president has done well to set up a committee, but headed by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Of course, from a few days ago, he came up and said, Nigeria will ratify until we know that the agreement will not be injurious to Nigerian businesses. For us, we feel it's like saying taking one step forward and taking two steps backward. For the presidency, for the government to take position to settle the ground, we have to the committee itself has to sit and define the national position, and the president or the executive have to ratify. If they ratify, then they mobilize and harness the private businesses to come together for us to move forward. We have the financial institutions, of course, without the government support, they are spreading. Like UB have about 20-something branches across African countries. We have the communication. If we can have a national position, starting from ratification and domestication, then we are good to go. But we don't have that position yet.
What about ECOWAS as a whole? How is ECOWAS well prepared for this AFCFTA?
Well, AFCFTA is working on the regional economic blocks. That is the stood that ECOWAS will stand on to be successful. Because for ECOWAS, I think they are putting something. Right? Last week I heard that ECOWAS is trying to take a position on the service area, the service sector, which is fine. But Nigeria is still the big boy here. Nigeria still leads ECOWAS. So if Nigeria is not pulling its weight, we still have the border closure, which has not been resolved. That is a dent itself on the AFCFTA, and that is a dent on the strength of ECOWAS, which is not good really for us as a country and as a community.
Okay, you talked about what the ICT has put forward, talking about communications or ICT.
Yeah, I think we have a strength there.
Okay, so Nigeria also, in the last GDP figures, we saw that Nigeria's ICT sector performed very well as finance, communication, that's ICT, and transportation and tourism. So how do you see these sectors helping to, make significant impact on the AFCFTA?
They will, but first thing first, we must ratify. Okay. We can't be saying what impact we didn't make when we've never gone. We've signed and we sat back. We have to ratify the agreement before we start talking about these benefits. They're doing very well. Don't get me wrong. As a matter of fact, decision of the president for saying visa on arrival is a good step in the right direction. Okay. But there are things that goes with it. Okay. If we don't make those things happen, they will not be favorable.
Perhaps.
Sorry, okay.
Man. Okay.
The interest rate to business business is still very high.
Okay.
The infrastructure is still not there. We're still battling with power. We are not still liberalizing a lot of areas, so it's still the security issue is still there. So these are things that we have to resolve for us to really benefit from this agreement. If financial institution is doing very well, the communication is doing very well, not because really, it's because the ingenuity of Nigerians, entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial skill of Nigerians that is pushing these industries to do well and breaking the boundaries. Young people are doing very well. But we need the support of the government to come to rally us around and say, this is the direction we want to go. And we all will follow. But we're not getting that so far.
I was going to say that perhaps the country is trying to, put its house together in place before stepping out. Probably that's why you know, it is trying to push all the sectors to make sure that they operate at maximum before. What do you think about that?
Well, we can read from the papers that several private organized business sectors are complaining and saying, where do we go from here? Nigerian Economic Summit Group released that first board meeting, said Nigeria will have to ratify so that we become member state, we'll be able to benefit from. These are private, organized private business and think tank. If those groups are not engaged, they are not spoken to, they don't know what is going on, there is an issue. It's not about putting a house together. We have to tell ourselves the truth. We are Nigerians. Things are not being done, and we are appealing to the government to re-put things in place. AFCFTA is a fantastic opportunity, and Nigerians will benefit greatly from it. We will benefit from our innovation, we will benefit from our entrepreneurship skill, but we need the government to take leadership, to lead us, and let's get this thing done. We have the capacity to get this thing done. We can break this barrier, but if we keep playing politics with it, it might be injurious to us in the medium term and in the long term.
Right.
Nigeria is Africa, Africa is Nigeria. We cannot divorce these two.
Okay.
We need Nigeria to take that leadership position. The presidency, the executive have to sign, carry the legislators along, and for ratifying the agreement is simple, but domesticating is another issue. But let's first ratify.
All right. Do you see these trade barriers being eased off in this year 2020?
Well, 1st of July, we're expected that 90% of tariff lines will be liberalized, especially for those that have ratified and deposited the agreement with AU. So some countries will benefit greatly from it because they are preparing, but for Nigeria, I have my doubt. For us, you are still battling with the issue of border closure. There is no common stand within the ECOWAS region. So it might for some country, but I doubt it for Nigeria.
Okay, let's talk briefly about the coronavirus. The news now is that the virus has come into Nigeria. Do you see this virus affecting the AFCFTA?
Well, a lot of global events, I understand that there is a road, a motor event that's supposed to take place in one of the European countries. They put it on hold. As a matter of fact, it has been cancelled totally. That is affecting businesses. That's affecting businesses that are planned to engage. So, yes, of course, it will affect AFCFTA in quotes. However, if there are measures put in place, we can be able to manage it and surmount it. We are humans, and these things do happen once in a while. So this gives an opportunity for businesses. So I understand even some countries have discovered the virus. Why can't we put together our traditional herbs and stuff to see if it will be one of the medicine that will
an interesting suggestion there, Mr. San Mba Kalu. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on Business Express. The National Economic Council, NEC, on Thursday hinted that it will carry out forensic audits of all bank accounts belonging to the electricity distribution companies DISCOs. This was disclosed by the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Comrade Philip Shaibu, while briefing State House correspondents at the end of the NEC meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Council Chamber, Presidential Villa, Abuja. Council Plateau and Nasarawa states to submit their detailed plans of action for the immediate takeoff of the National Livestock Implementation Plan of the federal government.
After the initial decisions were made by the state governors, the focus of the initiative shifted to the implementation. Outline of the established engagement process includes 1. Letter of intent and counterpart funding, State Livestock Transmission Office, and community engagement. Preliminary analysis of survey results, which includes data capture and analysis, such as analysis of enumerated data on 5 gazetted grazing reserves. And the second prayer was that this state should commit 5% of this funding to support the work of the Secretariat in line with the National Livestock Transformation Policy. And the Council approved the 2 prayers.
NEC also received an update on the review of the status of ownership structure of the electricity power distributing companies. Also received at NEC today is the LOC chairman of Edo 2020 preparation for the National Sport Festival in Edo. The Deputy Governor of Edo State presented a document to the effects of the level of preparedness by Edo State government.
Talking tax, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has given a timeline of April 12, 2020 for all taxpayers and organizations to obtain tax identification numbers, TINs. This deadline was given by the FIRS in a public notice signed by its chairman, Mohammed Nami. The notice stated that every company or business is to provide the number to relevant providers of financial services not later than 12 April 2020. Let's now see how the Naira is faring alongside other major currencies. Year-to-date returns negative after stocks traded in the red all through the week on the back of the massive sell pressure. Market capitalization fell below 14 trillion naira in the course of the week. And at the close of business this Friday, the all-share index fell the most for the week as markets closed for February. The decline was 2.21%. Market capitalization was 13.6 trillion naira, while investors traded up to 416.3 million shares at the value of 6.1 billion naira. All these were done in 5,220 deals. GT Bank was the most sought after stocks, and it was followed by UBA and Zenith Bank. And outside Nigeria, European stocks face worst week since financial crisis as coronavirus fears shake investors and crush U.S. stock futures. Jane Ukuku has an update on global stock markets.
Coronavirus outbreak has continued to hamper global markets. For Friday, February 28, 2020, the reds dominated early trades performances. In Asia, the indices declined as fears over the economic impact of the virus' rapid spread outside of China weigh on investor sentiments. Nikkei reduced by 3.67%, Shanghai 3.71%, and Hang Seng Index 2.42%. Stocks in United States were also bearish. Dow Jones depreciated by 4.42%, S&P 500 4.42%, and Nasdaq 4.61%. Also in Europe, stocks were also red. DAX dropped 4.11%, FTSE 100 3.55%, and CAC 40 3.54%. Here in Africa, the markets were mostly negative. Those that had a fall were South Africa's JSE Top 40, Nairobi's All Share, Namibia's Overall Index, and Ghana's JSE Composite Index, while Tunisia's Tune Index was slightly positive by 0.07%.
This is the point where we end this edition of Business Express, the last for the week. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, the observations and suggestions coming. And be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube and on NTA's channels. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now and the hashtag is #BizX. Business Express returns next month. I am Muplang Dakok.